Do you want to ensure the success of your Amazon FBA business? Well, then I have the answer for you. It's doing your product research correctly. And we're not going to tell you how to do it correctly in this video. We're going to tell you how to not do it, how to do it incorrectly. So it's the inverse. Now, I talk with Casey Goss, the CEO of Viral Launch. He is an 8-figure entrepreneur. He knows what he's talking about. A very great ethical guy. And they've done over 30,000 product launches. So this is the largest, data set out there of Amazon-specific sellers. And so he sees what works and doesn't work. He's got access to that data, and he's not an Amazon seller. And so I went and I interviewed him, and I asked him basically everything I wanted to know when getting down into the numbers, like what works, what doesn't. So we've actually got 12 whole videos that I've got with him. So these will be coming out over time. If you want to see them all, sign up for the free course down there. What is $1? But in there, it's not done yet, but we're releasing it really soon here in May, and it's going to be awesome. And you guys will see all of these videos in there, as well as a whole bunch of other, I think about 150, 200. It's the best course out there. And I actually care about you guys and your success. So if you guys are interested in Viral Launch, so that's the software mentioned in this, go down and use my link below. You get 50% off the first month. And yeah, it's one of the main tools that I use. I have some other tools which I'll be releasing about soon. And yeah, let's get into the video though. But this is what not to do. And oh, by the way, we did have an error with the whiteboard in our contrast, so we'll having to do a little bit of editing to fix that issue. But let's get into the video. All right, so we're going to talk about the common failures that we see, specifically in product research. So how do you know you see something and it's doing a lot of numbers, but is it a good idea or is it not? So so I want to have Casey just talk right now about common things that he sees, because he's seen what, 30,000 launches now or so?
30,000 launches, just thousands and thousands of sellers. Some have gone on to build, 9-figure Amazon businesses, and then some have, had to close up shop. And so I am a huge advocate of doing your due diligence in product research, and we definitely want to make sure you're making the right decisions.
Would you agree that product research is the most important thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't do that right, you're screwed, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
I don't have a good analogy, but it's it's like if you have a great product, it makes having success so much easier. If you have a bad product, bad product for you, it makes having success sometimes impossible. So you have to start off on the right foot, essentially. So yeah, so jumping into common failures, this can be chopped up 2 different ways, but basically people will look at one ASIN and assume that it is representative of the market as a whole. But in reality, it's not at all. You should definitely be looking at market averages, or a good portion of the performance of the listing. So page 1, let's say there's 24 listings, you should be looking at how the top 15 or whatever are performing, because that is most indicative of what you can expect. And so what this looks like, as an example, is let's say you want to sell a fish oil, just say for an example, and there's a guy position number 5, he has 20 reviews, but he's selling 5,000 units a month. And so what we see people do is they'll say, wow, all I need to do is sell that exact ASIN, let's say they have 120 capsules at this, strength or whatever. They will source that exact product essentially. Or let's say it's grill brushes and that one happens to be green. They will source a green grill brush because their stats look good, and they think it's a function of, the market, or the market choosing a green grill brush. What you can't take into account is maybe they're amazing at running outside traffic. Maybe you have Brock Johnson on the other side just killing it with AdWords in Facebook ads or something. You have no idea what's driving that success. And so to make a bet on this one particular ASIN is fatal sometimes. And then the other side is looking at the market. We've seen markets where maybe only the top 2 listings are performing really well. So again, let's take grill mat. Or let's take shoes, right? Let's say you could private label shoes and you're thinking about getting into shoes. Well, the number 1 ASIN, let's say they're selling 500K a month and it's Nike. And then the number 2 ASIN is a Reebok shoe and it's selling 300K a month. But after that, everybody's only selling, $5,000 a month. Well, a seller will think that they'll be able to take a portion of that 500K down to their listing. And so they'll get into this market, but what they don't realize is people are not buying the other products for a reason. They're buying the top ones for a reason.
It's because of the brand play. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And so many people like don't pay attention to that fact. They're not doing enough research on who are my competitors. And I think it's really important to know, is this a brand that has some kind of following that's driving that traffic? Or is that traffic coming from Amazon, which is going to be the traffic that you will be taking?
Okay, nice.
So, yep, that's mistake number 1.5, 2 kind of. The next is people don't pay attention to how they're going to achieve success. And so they will see, you know, let's take internet routers. So I have a good example of these guys, smart guys. They come to me and they have internet routers. And
private labeling a router?
Yes.
I would not go there.
Well, they did.
Tech support?
Yeah.
And, oh, man.
Dude, so like
the liability if you get hacked, like, huh.
So basically,
anyways, yeah, think about liability too. Anyways.
Yeah. So think about everything.
Yeah.
But, anyways, their whole reasoning was twofold. One, we're IT guys, we know a decent amount about like this market. And then two, a lot of people are getting on the internet. A lot of people are buying these routers. So what they didn't pay attention to is like how they're going to achieve success, how they're going to go and get those sales. And had they paid attention in the market, page 1 on Amazon, all name brands, Asus, Linksys, Netgear, I mean, big brands. And, you know, they all have tons of reviews, like 1,000 plus general, like on average. And so you have to compete against name brands in a like very competitive space with high review quantities. And so to have success, like even if it was possible, they would have had to have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. And they were only prepared to spend $5,000, $10,000. Like I see too many sellers just paying attention to how much money they can make. They're not paying attention to how am I going to put myself in a position to make that money. And generally, it's a cost thing.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you got to pay attention, which we've talked about in other videos about how much it costs to get to that first page. And well, you could make it without being on that front page, but you're just going to be doing PPC, and it's going to take you months. And I mean, it can work, but you're not going to get to that first page without the costs, like he's talking about there.
It's just going to be a very slow process.
Yeah, and I mean, because you can still make it organically, but I mean, it's just like you got to have something better.
And distinctly better, and you have to get it in front of people. It's definitely a process.
Because I've actually I got on the top pages for my Clips stuff, which was selling thousands a day, and I got there organically with no launch, no nothing.
Nice.
But it was just because mine was so unique and better, and it wasn't a brand play. Yeah. But like I could not do that in routers. I would get destroyed. Like just be honest. So so not thinking about how hard it is. So then this one is what I really emphasize on. So the Me Too's, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so Me Too is so we see so many sellers that all source the same products. We've been seeing the same products continue to be popular in terms of decisions people are making for literally years, like 3 years now. We've been seeing so many Garcinia Cambodias and turmeric curcumarins and grill brushes and grill gloves. Like we continue to see these. And I think it's so tempting to say like, you know, maybe you know a friend of a friend that made $100,000 selling grill gloves or whatever, and so you're like, well, if they sold 100,000, if I can only make like a portion of that, I would be happy. And so you're like, well, I'll charge a little bit less, but again, you have no idea how much they're going to charge. Anyways, so we see so many people make those decisions, and it just doesn't work out for them. And so some of them end up closing up shop, or that product, they just write it off and move on to a better product. We see so many people saying, you know, I can probably do that too. I know they made money in it. I can probably do that too.
So with those, is that just because they'll see money in a market and then they just think, okay, well, if I just copy that exactly, you think that's why they fail? Is it because they're like there's no differentiation? It's just like a copy of that, and the other guy's already ranking and has reviews, or is it like why do you think those people fail?
So it's partially that, but it's partially like in a lot of these Me Too markets, it's so competitive that you need an insane amount of money in order to compete well, or you're going to go the sponsored ads route. But sponsored ads in these really competitive markets are expensive, and like you have no reviews. I mean, it's so difficult to get started in these highly competitive markets, and it seems a lot of the Me Too markets are these super competitive markets.
So you think in some of these really high ones, you almost have to be almost on the edge of like getting, like I know there's a lot of Chinese sellers these days getting kind of like fake reviews and stuff, or like you have to do crazy launches and giveaways to get into those.
Yeah, so I mean we have some clients where first 90 days, they're giving away a minimum of 9,000 units on their products, sometimes a lot more. And these are like highly competitive markets where maybe they're selling 20,000 units a month organically after their ranking. But like these markets are so competitive. All of your competitors are running giveaways, and they're low on price, and they're spending a ton of money on sponsored ads, and they have amazing photos, and they have amazing listing. Like everybody's going all out.
Oh,
and,
okay,
like, to compete, you have to go all out.
You have to have the resources and the knowledge. So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like in these competitive markets. That's why we push the low barrier to entry, like the new markets, because you don't have these people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, like going negative hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've been in there for years, getting thousands of reviews. Like you have none of that. You just get to go in. Maybe the highest review quantity for a listing is like 100 or something really low. It's so easy to get in and have success.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. No, that's so true. And then I guess so this kind of leads into that as well, where like what you were just saying, so not having enough money to spend on. So let's say someone has $5,000, they might, like, you'll get people coming to you who have spent pretty much all $5,000 of that on the product, right? And then say like, make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, sure, maybe you have a uncle or something that's really talented in product photography, so you can get that done. Maybe you can scrounge together a listing, but it will be hard with no like keyword research tool. But like after that, just having a listing on Amazon doesn't mean you're going to sell. Like you need to run some kind of ads that costs money. Like you need to be doing something to drive traffic. You have to have money in order to have success on Amazon. And so you can't spend all your money on your inventory because there are some marketing dollars that are required essentially.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what a lot of people do not take into account. And unless you've got something crazy like new. So I mean, like I had my Eclipse glasses that were relatively close to other people, but mine were better. Those I had to run crazy ads to. But my unique goggles, I was actually no ads in an iPhone picture. Wow. And it worked. And became one of the top sellers on the top front page. But that was only because it was so unique. So we're talking about like if you're not like the next best invention, because like the algorithm from my experience, it will reward something that like is really loved, but it's got to be really loved. And a Me Too is not going to be really loved.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that we see a lot of inventions come to play. And
let's talk about why those fail.
Yeah. Okay. We didn't that's a good idea. So we see a lot of inventions come to play, but what you need to realize is like people need to find your product. Like people have to be searching for those search terms, right? So like if you invent this thing that like nobody has ever thought of, but there's no one searching for it on Amazon. So like, let's take fish oil diffuser, right? There's no such thing as a diffuser for fish oil. That'd be kind of nasty, right?
Ew.
So no one is searching fish oil diffuser, so you would have to rank for these high volume keywords like essential oil diffuser, but people who are searching essential oil diffuser don't want a fish oil diffuser, so they're not gonna buy it. And so like, if no one is searching your, like the main terms for your product, no one is looking for it, no one's gonna buy it. But for like Brock's example, like people were looking for solar eclipse, like light block, I don't even know what it is.
No, they were looking for Eclipse glasses. But I read in the reviews that people were complaining that they let in a lot of light because there are all these paper ones that went out like this.
Yeah.
So then I made goggles so that they would fit. So it was solving a problem that everybody had, and I was literally the only person that solved the problem. So it didn't matter that I was like, the paper glasses were like $2 a piece for everyone else, and I was 30 for one pair. But it didn't matter because I'm the only one that solved that problem, and they looked cool. So if you have that right product market fit, it can work, but I'm only able to invent within a certain square. I can't just make a great invention that people would love, but if nobody's looking for it, it doesn't. So, but because I was able to get in that search term, people were looking for Eclipse glasses. They didn't know they wanted it, but when they saw it, it hit. So, but
And the brilliance there was you were using Amazon data, like what was in the reviews, in order to know that this invention needed to be made.
Oh yeah, because I had no idea until I read all that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's one huge mistake. And then what else have we got here?
The last one here, which again kind of folds up into the Me Too, but we see so many people again sourcing the same products, and not all of them are Me Too people or products. Sometimes it's just because there's this connotation around products that are heavy or products that are large. Like there's basically like these basic parameters that gurus have put in place for years. You know, it needs to be the size of a shoebox so it's cheap for shipping. It needs to be, you know, between $20 and $40 or something like that. And so like, basically from our experience, I think that you should be selling anything that you can make and sell profitably, taking into account shipping fees, Amazon's referral fee, you know, your cost of goods sold. Like, take all these things into account. But if a profit comes out and you're okay with that profit margin, you should sell it. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, a grand piano or it's something, you know, the size of a piece of paper that weighs as much. Like, you should be selling anything that turns a profit, because like, at the end of the day, that's what you're after. It doesn't matter if it's large, if you're making more money and, you know, you're good with that.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, just because something might be dangerous too, like, that's what one about mine, it pushed me off at first because I had to get these certifications and do all of this stuff, but I kept pushing through. And the more barriers to entry there are, harder. It's just the concept. If it's just something really easy where all you had to do was like go to Alibaba and they're even selling it wholesale and you just hit buy and then you send it in, like, that's no work. So there's going to, by definition, be more people. But buy with like that grand piano you're talking about, I look at that and I'm like, no. I'm not gonna sell that. So there's bigger opportunities where it's harder.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Great. Well, thanks. Those are some common failures, and if I find out more, I'll update and we'll add some more.